Hey guys, it's Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing some analysis on Bitcoin because as you guys probably already know, Bitcoin has broken bearish. We fell below not only $10,000, but we also fell below the all-important uptrend of support here that Bitcoin has been riding for the last month and a half or so. In today's video, we're going to be looking for levels of support where Bitcoin may potentially bounce, and I'm going to give you guys the scenario that I personally believe Bitcoin is going to follow through on here over the next week or two. We've been talking about a bearish breakout in exactly this manner for the last 2 to 3 weeks on the channel, and it's finally happened. Nothing at all to be concerned about, but it is something we need to analyze, guys. We also want to go ahead and do some news. Literally nothing at all to be concerned about, guys, but it is something we need to analyze. And there's also some news that we need to look at because Bakkt clients can start warehouse deposits on September 6th. This is going to have to do with our technical analysis today. And I also want to talk about a tweet here by John McAfee. So guys, we've got a lot to get into in today's video. If you do enjoy today's video, make sure you smash that like button. But without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Bitcoin, of course, as you probably know by now, has broken bearish. And this isn't a false breakout either, guys. If we check our volume candles here, we can see that we have a very significant volume candle. In fact, it's one of the biggest volume candles that we've seen ever since the middle of last month over here on the 16th of July when Bitcoin dumped as well. This is most definitely a confirmed breakout, and there's no reason to expect that Bitcoin is going to bounce and just immediately run back to $11,000 over the next couple of days. Bitcoin is going to need to find some concrete support. And luckily, guys, Bitcoin is right above a couple of concrete levels of support. If we come out here to the weekly chart, then you guys will know I have been talking about this 20 exponential moving average for the last 2.5, 3 weeks. I don't know how many times I've brought this up. I brought it up so many times that typically in bull markets, Bitcoin comes down and it tests the 20 EMA. And I've been saying in just about every single video that since we had not tested this yet, that we were probably going to have a breakout. You guys can go back and watch any video, any live stream. I've said this for a long time. And that's exactly what's happening, guys. This 20 EMA is sitting around $9,050 right now. I personally believe that that's where Bitcoin is going to fall to, and Bitcoin is going to get support somewhere in the zone between around $8,900 to $9,200. If we were to draw a zone like that on the chart, it would look something a little bit like this. I expect with a pretty good degree of certainty that Bitcoin is going to get support somewhere around here, because not only does that 20 exponential moving average come up to give us support right around here, we also see that that's an equivalent bottom with some of our lows over here. As you can see, $9,000 also being a big even, by the way, is a very likely contender for an area where Bitcoin would get support. Because quite frankly, guys, Bitcoin has had this bearish breakout. This is starting to look like a capitulation that we see quite often in bull markets, and it's not the end of the world. It just normally signals the end of the downtrend, actually, and the revitalization of the market and the beginning of a new uptrend. If you guys are in CT2A and you've watched the video on market structure, you will know that when we break market structure, normally big things are about to happen in the market. We've just seen Bitcoin has broken market structure. We finally had a breakout of this consolidation pattern, and as you can see here on the daily chart, Bitcoin has broken below the 42 level here on the RSI that has been holding above in the duration of this uptrend this entire time. Those are two breaks in market structure. Typically, that's indicative that something is about to happen. Normally, a reversal is about to happen. And also, if we look back here on history, a lot of times when Bitcoin is having a rally, it'll fall over, and then it'll have a little capitulation. It'll rally, it'll consolidate, and it'll capitulate, and it'll keep going. That happens quite a lot in Bitcoin, so it's nothing to be concerned about. Now, I personally believe that there's a pretty strong chance that Bitcoin gets support around $9,000 and bounces and starts rallying. But if that doesn't happen, there are levels of support below us as well. But that isn't the only level of support that we're looking at, guys. There's also some support on our VPVR down here around $7,900. And this would be another major level of support that we could potentially see Bitcoin come down to. You guys see that we had a lot of trading down here. And if we bring up our volume, then we'll see that there's also quite a good amount of volume down here. All of that combined creates a big peak here on the VPVR, which is definitely giving us a level of support around $8,000 roughly. And also, guys, while I don't think it would be the most healthy for Bitcoin to fall below the 20 EMA because it almost never does that during bull markets, it could do it and it wouldn't necessarily spell the end of the bull market. If it does do that, something interesting would happen on the Bitcoin futures chart. Because as you guys probably know, there is still this gap down here in the Bitcoin futures that was never filled. And people have been talking about Bitcoin needing to fill this gap. And I've said, no, it's probably not going to, because if Bitcoin breaks bearish like I think it's going to, it'll probably get support on the 20 EMA. And I stand by that. Bitcoin will probably get support on the 20 EMA. But if it does break down to this little peak here on the VPVR around $8,000, it would fill that gap. And that would be a good thing for Bitcoin because filling gaps is almost always a bullish experience for the market. So with that said, guys, we have our level of support here around $9,000. We also have our VPVR level down here around $8,000. And if we have to go lower, there's also a peak on $5,000, and $6,000 is a flat level of support as well. I personally don't think these two are going to need to be used, but you never know. It is possible that Bitcoin starts falling through levels of support here, and we all have a feeding frenzy with our shorting positions, but I really just don't see that as a major possibility for Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's more than likely going to get a bounce here in the next couple of days around the 20 EMA, If not, it's a decent chance as well that Bitcoin might come down here to $8,000, but I personally don't see a whole lot of likelihood for anything below $8,000. So moving on here, guys, I just briefly wanted to mention something John McAfee said on Twitter. He said, Bitcoin is under $9,500. If you are panicking, you're a fool. And we all know that John McAfee isn't exactly one for politeness, but I do totally agree with him. If you're panicking below $9,500 for Bitcoin, this might not be the market for you guys. Seriously, this is a great time for Bitcoin. This is a great time to be getting into Bitcoin. I'm about to put a lot of money into Bitcoin. I've been waiting for this bearish breakout. I've been on the edge of my seat wanting to throw more Bitcoin and buy more Bitcoin with my US dollars. And I was like, I feel like there's a bearish breakout coming. And now that it's happened, I'm going to start throwing in some money, dollar cost averaging down here perhaps. This isn't anything to be concerned about, guys. This isn't anything to FUD about. This isn't anything to get worked up over. I know there are a lot of people that are probably scared right now. There's no reason to be. Don't get shaky hands. Don't get your feet cold. Don't let your emotions control you, guys. Look for levels of support. Buy in, make longs, use short positions if you need to try and short the market. Make sure you're doing everything you were taught in CT2A and here on the channel. Make sure you are doing everything properly, and you'll be just fine. There's money to be made on the upside and on the downside. The only time where you can't make money is when there's no volatility. Now that we've had a return of I don't know what my chart just did. Now that we've had a return of volatility, that's a good sign because now we can start making money. Now let's move on. Because Bakkt clients can start warehouse deposits on September 6th, guys. You know that we've been talking about Bakkt ever since its first announcement over a year ago last August. This is a gigantic news story, and I've heard people talking about how this might be kind of a buy the rumor, sell the news event, and I totally agree with that. There's a rumor going around, there's an idea going around that people were buying up a lot of Bitcoin in anticipation for Bakkt hopefully launching this year, and that there was a little bit of a rally here, back over here, when Bakkt actually announced a launch date, and a lot of people bought that rumor, and then they started selling the news. Now that Bakkt is coming, a lot of people are selling the news, and that may be adding some bearish pressure to the market. I 100% agree with that analysis, and this news story may actually be a short-term bearish thing for Bitcoin because people are selling the news. The same thing happens after halvings. The same thing happened after the Bitcoin Cash hard fork back in 2017. This is a relatively common occurrence. But that all being said, even though this may be a short-term bearish thing, and by short-term I mean for the rest of this month and on into September, even though this may be a short-term bearish thing, it's certainly not a long-term bearish thing. Bakkt is probably one of the most bullish things that is going to happen to Bitcoin in the last couple of years and in the next few years until we get a Bitcoin ETF. Because guys, as I've been talking about, people that are in traditional finance markets, the institutions, people that have money in their retirement portfolios, they're probably not going to go buying Bitcoin on Coinbase or Kraken or Bitfinex. They're probably just not going to go buying their Bitcoin and trading Bitcoin on those exchanges. They would probably prefer to do that, and in fact, they probably won't do it unless they can trade it on some kind of institutionalized platform with a name that they can trust. And if you're in the traditional finance markets, you probably at least have some degree of trust towards the New York Stock Exchange, who is owned by the same people that owned and created Bakkt, Intercontinental Exchange. Bakkt has a lot of credibility because of the way it was created, by who it was created, and by the regulatory framework that surrounds it. This is a gigantic bullish news story. I mean, this is literally probably the most bullish story that we've had all year. That is not an exaggeration, but that is a very well substantiated opinion. So guys, this is big news. People are going to be able to start making deposits on September 6th, and trading will be live on September 23rd. One more thing I did want to mention here, guys, was the Fear and Greed Index. As you guys can see, we are sitting in extreme fear, a 20 on the Fear and Greed Index. If you guys don't know, the Fear and Greed Index is a 0 to 100 scale. The lower the level, the closer to 0, the more fearful the market is. I'm not going to get into how this is calculated. We've done a video on that in the past. But as you guys can see, just a little while ago, we talked about this on the channel. On August 22nd, the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, went all the way down to 5, which was an all-time low. And oftentimes you can read this as sort of an RSI with overbought and oversold signals, indicating that Bitcoin is probably overbought right now. And that is what the rest of our indicators are saying as well, is that Bitcoin is starting to get into overbought territory. We can see that with the daily RSI, for example. So while yes, we've had a bearish breakout, I don't expect it to last very long. It may result in upwards of a $1,500 move down here to $8,000, but other than that, I think we're perfectly fine, guys. Tell me in the comment section down below what you are going to be doing in this market. Are you looking for short positions? I certainly am. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to short this last night because I was out. I wanted to short this and I wanted to live stream this, but I was 100 miles from home, so I couldn't do either, which was very frustrating when Bitcoin hasn't done anything for the last 2 weeks. But that's okay, guys. Opportunities come, opportunities go. You just gotta catch as many as you can. Anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Tell me in the comment section down below, do you agree with my analysis? Do you agree that Bitcoin is probably going to bounce off of our 20 weekly exponential moving average right here, and that from there we will restart the bull market and we can start moving into the next phase of the bull market? That's what I think is going to happen, although like I said, I could very much see a breakdown here to $8,000 and then a subsequent bounce as well. I want to hear your opinions on that in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, that is pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure to smash that like button if you did indeed enjoy the video. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. We do daily cryptocurrency technical analysis videos, and we cover all breaking news whenever it happens. And I do try to do live streams whenever something major happens. I wish I could have live streamed this, but I was physically unable to. Anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.